What's up, everyone? Bacon here, and today we have another tier list video. This is another popularity tier list based on the popularity tab in the game, but this is for campaign, and this is for late game campaign. This is not for early game campaign, this is for late. So it might look a little different than the early game ones, but I think overall it's still very helpful and telling because as you get farther in the game, it can be harder to progress in campaign. So you want to know which units are being used a lot, which ones are popular, and which ones are good. And so I threw it all together, and this is what we got. This does look a little different than the overall tier list of everything kind of thrown together. There's some people who have gone up, some people that have gone down, some people have kind of just fallen out of the tier list completely. And so we are going to look at this, kind of dissect a few units per category, and then hopefully this information will be helpful for you. So looking at the first row, or two rows, I guess, with this one, is you can see some familiar faces, especially as of recently. Shaltair, Awakened Solace is not surprising to be there. Mishka, Taylene, Laika. These five are really not surprising. We got Rowan, Sanja. What is her name again? I can't remember her name, but Grass, Wild Lady, Rosaline, Tassie. Tassie and Rosaline are kind of surprising for me, honestly. Not because I don't think they're good units, but for campaign, Rosaline, I don't really see her in campaign as much as like other modes, like campaign boss or Dream Realms. But it's cool that she's finding some usage in here. Obviously, like she's very useful and she's a really good unit in general, so it's not like bad to use her in campaign necessarily. But just surprised that she's as high as 9. Tassie, I just got her to like maxed out 5-star ascended, and she's been really good. I really like pairing her with Mishka, where she can make the other team sleep, and Mishka just kind of body slams them, and it's just like a kind of chain of stunning. Then you have Laika pushing them back. I think those are like a really good trifecta, and then you throw her in there, and then no one ever dies. And then you could kind of throw in another DPS somewhere in there. Kind of like that combo a lot. The good Wilder, especially for the tower too. Like, but this is a campaign, so I can talk about that. But in general, that's kind of how I feel with those. The Wilders, obviously, Sanja has just been dominating campaigns since the release of Companions. She's a great unit to focus early on, and will continue to be really helpful later. None of these are really surprising, except for maybe Rosalind in my eyes. The second row, 11 to 20. We got some classics. We got Brutus, the king of not dying or just stalling long enough for you to kill the other team. We got the two newbies. We got Albedo, however it's pronounced, and Ainz. Classic combo together can be really helpful. Also, keep in mind, these two units are pretty much brand new, and so they're going to have a lot of usage because everyone has them, and a lot of people are going to be using them. And so, they might not be quite this high in like actual rankings. This is a popularity ranking tier list. So everything is kind of taken with a little bit of a grain of salt. But I think if you have them built out and you have them together, they can be decent. Especially for just generic campaign pushing, they're not terrible at all. Any others that stand out? Gwyneth, my girl, I can't not give her a shout out, even though I don't have her maxed or anywhere close to maxed. I just like Gwyneth ever since I kind of did a deep dive into her. Big Gwyneth fan. Iran, kind of the 5-pole classic units. He can be really good when thrown with some of these other top tier Wilders. The Wilders have a lot of like chain CC stunning. With him, Laika, Mishka, Tassie, Awakened Solace, Turtle Man, like they have a lot of just like stun. Like, so definitely like some good units for campaign. Any other shout outs? Shamira, Damon, not much to explain here. A lot of AoE damage, a lot of tankiness from Damon, along with some damage. All good units. Honestly, these top 20, if you build out any of these, they're going to be good. Salaki, Maulers, great unit. Just overall, like, these are all solid units. Can't complain much about the first 20 at this point. All right, now looking at the third row, we got some interesting units. Estrilda kind of pops out in my mind. I think she is not a bad unit, especially in light bears where, as far as like tanky units go, you got Lucius, you got Hendrik, but that's kind of it. So, Estrilda's kind of like a tanky, backline, annoying unit, kind of dashes in the back, is distracting, does some damage too. I'm a little surprised she's this high up, but it's cool seeing her get some love. Um, Mortis in campaign is a little surprising. I think he can be good paired with like a high damage unit, like Belinda, like Awakened Solus, Sanja, maybe Shaltier, maybe. But I'm just kind of surprised that he's getting this much usage in campaign. But I guess since he's free and everyone's using him, then maybe that's why. Or maybe he's just busted in campaign. I haven't really used him yet in campaign, just with bosses. Oku has been a unit that has gotten a lot of love since campaigns has come out. Kind of like a tanky, damagey unit. Has scales a lot with his health. And his kit has a lot of health and health regen in it. And so he's kind of a fun unit to mess around with. Belinda, I use her a lot. I have her ascended, but her big problem is she just dies so easy. So if you want to use her, it's good to use her with someone like Lucius who can kind of help her keep alive or stay alive with the shields. Nara, not much explanation there. She hooks people and people use her just for her hook. Thorin's good. Pirate Man's good. Like, third row's honestly not too bad. Audrey's good. One copy god. So honestly, third row, not much to complain about either. These top 30, like, these are all pretty solid units for the most part. All right, now the last two rows are kind of where it gets a little spicy. I kind of don't know how I feel about some of these, honestly. Athalia takes a lot of build out to really get her going to make her useful. So having her at 31 is a little surprising. Like, she's a good unit when you have her built out, but it takes a lot of resources to get her there. I somehow have gotten 4 copies of her, including the free one. But I just have randomly drawn her from like normal scrolls, and I guess maybe I should focus on her instead of Taylene, but at this point they're both the same level, so we'll see about that. Flora, I've heard, can be decent when kind of given some love a little bit. She's kind of annoying to go against, and so seeing her thrive here is cool. Purple giant fat guy, honestly, I have no idea what his name is. I'm hoping to get more copies of him in my free-to-play account, but he is just kind of a tanky boy. He likes to absorb some damage. He is a big, beefy man. We got Turtle Man, Snake Man. All my animals are in this row. You got Squirrel Man. You got Scrag Man. This is just a fun row. Like, honestly, these are fun units. Yeah, Goggle Man. Like, I don't like it. Like, go away, poopy guy. But he's not actually that bad. He's just annoying to me. I feel like I always get copies of him when I don't want him. But honestly, like, interesting bro. A lot of units that don't get a lot of love. So I'm happy that they're kind of getting a little love here. Cool to see that. All right, now we are on the 5th row. As a reminder, this is not the bottom tier because there are still other units that didn't even make this tier list. And so these aren't like garbage trash tier, but it is getting close to that. So just because they're on the tier list doesn't mean they are good or you should be going for them, but they are good enough to not be like bottom of the barrel. So keep that in mind. So we got some noticeable ones. Orthos, kind of cool to see him in here. He's like classic, just so annoying to go against, especially when you are kind of under leveled, trying to squeak a few more levels, and then you find him and you're like, I just don't have the damage to kill him. I can't kill him quick enough. I try to stun him. I try to burst him. It just isn't working. So he can be kind of a pain to go against. I think he is honestly like a wall that kind of prevents people from pushing too far when they shouldn't. So a lot of times you're always under, like, your power level or whatever is always going to be lower than the enemies for the most part as you progress later in the game. And I think if you try to squeeze a little too much out, the game throws an Orthos in there. It's like, yeah, you ain't getting by me, man. So I think being able to use him is kind of fun in campaign. I haven't messed with him much, honestly, but nice to see him getting some love. Cecilia, interesting unit. Not sure how I feel about her yet. Thane, probably not the best in campaign. It makes sense he's here. Hendrik, tanky boy. That's about all he is. Sheepman, wind guy. What is his name? I don't remember his name, but not really a big fan of him. Honestly, most of these units, I just look at them and kind of go, eh, eh. Thane, or I love Thane, but not for campaign necessarily. I love him for bossing and stuff like that. And then Desira, messing around with her a little bit. Not sure how I feel about her yet. Haven't kind of built her up enough to get a good opinion of her. Yeah, I mean, Chicken Man, Chicken Pharaoh. He can be good when paired with Euron, the CC chain combos, but Euron can also be paired really well with a lot of units. So it doesn't have to be Chicken Man necessarily. Unfortunately, a lot of these units just don't get a lot of love in general, and so it makes sense that they're in the kind of bottom of the barrel for the tier list. And so that is the popularity campaign tier list. Hopefully, you guys found this interesting. I always like looking at these just because I think it kind of, the visualizations kind of tell a story of what the main group of people playing this game are doing and what units really are like worth investing in. If I were to look at this from a whole, I would say top 20, can't go wrong with investing in any of these units. All of them great units. Obviously, top 10 probably going to be a little better overall, but top 20, some really solid units. That most of these units also have a lot of usage elsewhere and not just campaign. And so I would say if you kind of built out any of these units, maybe except for Brutus, pretty good value. 20 to 21 to 30, hit or miss on units worth building. Nara, I wouldn't build her out just because you don't really need her built out to do what she needs to do. Audrey, you don't really need to build them out either. Mortis, you get him for free, so might as well. Oku, definitely, overall. And then the rest of these units over here, I think they're pretty good, but definitely focus on these top 20 before kind of delving into these range. And then 31 to 50 range, I would just say overall, some of these units are definitely good, like Athalia, Scrag, Snake Man, maybe a few others. But the other ones, they can kind of trick you into thinking they might be good, but really aren't worth building up that much at this point. That's just my thoughts on these. But hopefully this helped you guys in some way with your AFK Companions journey. If you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and if you have any thoughts on it, if you disagree with something or you think someone should be higher or lower, comment below. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. But as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.